Hello. It's a little bit late today, but all the same, I thought I wanted to drop by since I tend to at least check in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Not only that, but I can tell you what I've been working on, and we can fire up the old Godot Engine and try a new thing with that video game I was doing. So I'll jump in there, and then we will get up to speed on what might be going on here. Okay, JetBrains Writer, very good. And I am pleased to hear that music 408. Let's see. Where are we at? So one of the things I was doing today was jamming with a musician friend. And that was nice. It's very weird, though, because firstly, I normally do live streaming on this day. It's very different doing live streaming and catching up with people sort of over the internet versus having somebody come literally here. But he was like, oh, it's good. I was afraid that it was going to be just stinking of bad cat litter or something, and you would be a complete disaster. And it's like, no, I'm actually pretty civilized. I'm happy to realize that I'm more civilized than I look, put it that way. And we had a fun time jamming. It's a musician whom I am, in theory, I might be able to help him do some composing and stuff. And we'll see. It's possible that will go in the direction of even that can become the live stream. It just depends upon where it goes, because this guy, all he wants to do is write songs and things, and that's not at all what I thought was going to happen for somebody coming over and jamming. Yeah, Chad, that's why I dropped by, is I didn't want to just literally not ever show up at all, but it expanded outwards a little bit, and so here we are. But yeah, I thought jamming was going to be, start playing, because he's a keyboard player, start playing and I'll play guitar and then just go from there, and that's apparently not on the agenda, but we're going to see what else is, and we'll see where that goes. And it does me good to get out. It does me good to share my space a little bit, because if I don't, I just become weird and reclusive, and it's difficult to get away from that once you're too buried in it. So, hang on a moment. One of the things I need to do if I'm going to do this is get out headphones and plug them in and be able to run stuff over the headphones, so that even though I've only got a couple of hours today before stream time will be over, we can still at least do this. Oh, also I got to play this guy King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the first time, which was fun. And Jean de Poitrine. He had never heard of them, and I was like, oh boy, brace yourself. So let's see, SWB audio capture, there. Now the game will be feeding to stream, and let's see, audio hijack is what transfers it to me being able to hear it. And I'm going to refamiliarize myself with what I've got, because I had an idea for something else I could do. And we'll see what that's about. So here's what I was doing last time. Is we've got this stuff going on, but it was also making sort of large spaceships off in the distance that you can approach. Now, I may not actually be seeing them, but that was the idea, is you could fly off in some direction and be able to find these large objects. Trouble with that is they are large sort of oblong things, and I made them like spaceship shapes, but the texture is designed to be a cube, so it would simply stretch the texture in a way that wasn't helpful. Also, I'm not seeing any of them at the moment, so we'll skip that. But yeah. Also, the music 408, you might not understand what it's about, because firstly, I don't have a limiter, and second of all, you don't pay or buy it. Anything that I do is just go ahead and have it, because that's how I roll. And if you have lots of paychecks, you could join my Patreon if you wanted, but you don't have to if you don't want, or you don't have to if it's in any way difficult. And yeah, so here we are. We can make these things. This is a cube. I can have it distributed any way I want. We've got a UV1 and a UV2, so that's reasonably okay, I guess. Okay, you can have that be default. That can also be default, then it's probably fine. I don't know if I need a shader mode for that though. And if I hit save, I can jump into Writer, and we'll see whether I can, in the next 55 minutes or so, make something amusing happen here before thawing out tacos for dinner, and then another hour, and then I go and have dinner. So let's see. Also, by all means, ask me for anything. Funny you should mention it. I'm working on a reverb that is called K-Rockstar. In fact, one of the things that I was doing before jamming with my friend today was I spent some of my time, because I was also freaking out over, like, I'm on the final stages of doing my taxes for the year, and I always panic, and I think, like, well, last year it was 10 times more than it was the previous year because I wasn't able to pay as much money buying musically related things. And if it does that again, it'll be really scary, but it probably can't be literally 10 times again. And I'm waiting to see what happens. It might actually even be less because I was paying over the year in quarterly payments, and that might smooth things out a little bit. I don't know. We'll find out. I will find out maybe as early as tomorrow. But I'm talking to all the people who are related to that situation, and I believe getting some answers. So here's one of the things I was thinking about. We've got these block sizes, and I wonder whether I can make these effectively be walls at literally world size. So what does that mean? Well, a number of things. One of the things is I can make the U size is world size times 5, and block size is U size, but much smaller. And we've got all of this going on. And then the positions use what I'm calling universe counter. And then we're stepping through the pixels of the counterpart texture, the texture that you're looking for. So this is randomly assigned each time, and I get to reuse this for things like the thinking of the bots. We haven't even really been looking at the bots because we're fooling around with all this other stuff so much. But currently, let's see. I can fool with this more than a little bit, and then it'll be much more visible as to what we're doing here. Yeah, see, now we're making these things. I've made them much more common. And as you can see, we can have these large objects, so large in fact that they're larger than the size of the universe, and they are very stretched out and squished. They have colliders, and they're kind of distributed through the space in such a way that it's like it's a megastructure. And you can fly through these things. The asteroids work in a different sort of way. The counterpart stuff is still up and running, that's still available, but we have these megastructures now. Except I made them a little bit smaller. And you see them appearing out of the fog. And then we can go closer to them, or in fact bounce off of them. Like this. In fact, so will the asteroids bounce off of them. Those that don't just blow up. And that is now a thing. Also, I can blow this large asteroid up. And that is all following the rules of these are objects in space, but so is this an object in space. It's just much larger than any of the asteroids. And we can even look at these here and see that there is also an instance over here, whereas the large slab here is way larger than the size of the universe. So I go through this way, and I find that I can continue to go, and we just end up seeing the same rocks over and over again and the same bots over and over again, because it is made to appear like it is an enormous space, but it's really not. Instead, there's a very specific size to all of this, and these are violating that rule. Mostly they are off in the area where, like, we're only seeing instances of things. They don't necessarily have collision that far away. But we can collide with that just fine. I wonder if I can push this asteroid into the flat slab and cause it to bounce. Let's find out. Okay, well, I hit hard enough. Yep, it bounced. It bounced off of the thing. The synth playing. Funnily enough, Guy didn't take any interest in the synths at all, because he's a piano player. So, and happily, oh, got Mr. Meanie sneaking up on me. So I failed to sleep again. That's 2 nights out of the last 3, but it's probably going to get better, because I'm addressing the stress around the taxes and filling out forms. In the middle of jamming, I got a call from a lady at Vermont State Housing Authority, and she was like, "So, I got your telephone message, and this hardcore deadline number that we've given you in writing, yeah, maybe you don't need to worry about that so much. You just needed to talk to me. And having talked to me, now I know that you're making an effort to do it." So I still have to see that actually work out okay, but that is an encouraging sign. And today was after I woke up too early and wasn't able to get back to sleep again. Today I called the tax people, and they were like, "Oh, You only have 7 days, period? Okay, we'll start working a little harder. And they think that they can have the stuff done tomorrow or the next day. And I could even maybe come out on Saturday if it was important. So that seems legit. And honestly, it gives me the feeling that I can get through this. Because I'm always just panicking over stuff because I think I know what it means. And I'm taking everything literally because autism. And the consequences are huge. And the entire situation is completely toxic because, after all, we're talking about paying freaking taxes to what I consider are terribly evil people. But I don't think I get much of a choice around that, so I'll just try to minimize them, put it that way. And yeah, so that looks like it will get better. Another interesting note on synth playing and having a keyboard player come over and visit. It was nice getting together some of my stuff and having it all set up and ready to go. Like having I have my Make Noise O-Coasts set up to be like a little keyboard, a little monosynth. And it wasn't any use to me today, but if I was doing something, I could play that. And it would be a very quick, easy way of getting music made just the way that I do. Every time I've sat down and been like, oh, there's no time to do anything, so I'll play a piano and then I'll overdub a synth and then I'll overdub a guitar. And then people tend to like those. So I'll do more of that. I'll see what's coming. But taking this step, honestly, it also helped a little bit that it was like, okay, so it's this guy, he's a little older than me, and I'm an old man. Old Irishman guy. And was weirdly thrilled that I wasn't living in just complete filth and had no control over anything. Instead, it was like, no, I am keeping things like tidy and reasonable, and I'm being reasonable even if I'm kind of losing my mind. But I'm handling things and being reasonable. And that went over well. He was very impressed with all of my crap. And that's always kind of neat. Because remember, back in the day, Airwindows was supposed to be a recording studio once. So it's nice to still have that online. Nice to know I still got it, right? And let's see. So we're going to comment that out. And let's see. So that needs to be a new vector. Fair. I hear you there. So mega position. So what I'm looking at now is figuring out how I am going to make it so that each one of these large panels is a 1 by 1 by tiny amount wall. And it'll be a wall across the boundaries of the universe. It'll be lined up at world-size distances. Fair. Yeah, funnily enough, that was what this guy that came to jam. He's a recovery friend, so that's one way of, like, if you were in the Keene, New Hampshire area, you can drop by my recovery meetings, and that's one way of making that connection. Of course, assuming that you're like a recovering addict, or I suppose alcoholic. But failing that, it's fine. So let's see now. Fair. You know, there are people who are known for their Patreon who have done that lots. I wonder whether I can literally take world size and run with it like this. I wonder whether that works. So one thing I could do is start it at 0. Boom. And we get to see what that does. Because I'm still going to have the size of things be a little different from that. But it might just be possible to see whether it's lining up in a way that's useful. And I do already know that I can get rid of that square root. Boom. And then I can get rid of this factor as well. And therefore now we'll have 3 dimensions, and we're scaling them by block size rather than world size. But we're offsetting them by world size. Let's see what that did. Up. Okay. So I have started Why does this look like it's moving? Perhaps because it's an impossibly huge thing. Or maybe I'm just inside one of the objects and that's what's happening. Oh, yep, something went wrong. Well, let's see if I can run it again. Maybe I'm inside all of these at once. Maybe if we don't make that be times that, and we're still sticking with 4,000 objects, we're hopefully spacing them out in a way that's useful. But we're not. So yeah, the hope is being able to space these in a way that's interesting, but it ain't working quite yet. But I got free. I got clear. So now I can go past these and then see that I have made these large boxes. See, the goal was to make it so that those large boxes are at the boundaries, the world boundaries. And they'll be cubes, so they look correct like that. But instead of being cubes, they will be panels. And then see what that does. For now, they are large cubes. And the problem with them being large cubes is that objects will clip. If I've got so many of these large cubes taking up so much space, if I go close to that, at the point that the objects show up and appear, like this here, we've got an area where it is inside these megastructures. It's inside these very large things. I believe I can bounce off of that. Yep, I can. So the idea is make these panels rather than cubes. Then they won't necessarily interfere with everything. Have them be pretty much world size, but have them be spaced out in a way that's more useful than this. the other trick there is, I do not know if I've got it set up in such a way where they're only ever in one direction. Like, see? I can go this direction, and there's nothing but asteroids out here. Point this direction, and all of a sudden there's the megastructure. But I would like these objects to be sort of in every direction. Just weirdly, there's going to be a giant wall in the way. And I would like them to be walls rather than cubes, because when they're cubes, they can still be a megastructure. But the way the game engine works, it doesn't like there being solid things this big. See, it will have a collider. Boom, just like that. But not everything about that is working great. So then the next question is, I mean, Jonathan, one of the things you're talking about, making Funkin' Soul samples with AI, that's equivalent to making them from MP3s. And professional people playing out in large spaces on loud sound systems know better than to make things out of MP3s. So what are they thinking they're going to get out of an AI? Yeah. Again, I played my musical friend Angine de Poitrine, and he was like, well, it grows on you. He started liking it a little bit. So let's see. So block size equals U size times 009. Weirdly, that didn't seem to be... Okay, so this is me trying to figure out how this works. And indeed how I can locate these appropriately. Well, we're zeroing it out. I wonder if I can... Well, that was how I left it. Let's back it up until we can undo this bit. And then see what I had in there. That was what I had for my default positioning, wasn't it? It took me ages to get that too. So if I do this, that means I then have the large cubes or whatever, that it's not doctored quite as strongly. Now let's see if it places me in a comparable area. Also, maybe world size here. Because see, we're making vector 1, positioning it where we start, and then subtracting vector 1 times 8 times world size. And then we're adding up to 16 times world size. So that should place us smack in the middle of all of the weird stuff. Oh. Yep, that's exactly what happened. And it's not being any help. Oh, we're overlapping everything now. Yeah, so in some ways that was cool, and in some ways that completely fails. So instead, let's Scooch this over here and not have this be there. And then make this be much, 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 much smaller. At which point now we should have a sort of spacing in the middle of a giant section of blocks. And sure enough, we got there. See, now we're in the middle of a large dimensional space, which is a series of these objects all in these directions. And you can continue going in these directions until you're past the edges of the available space. But until you do, these are all positioned in a particular area. They're basically, I think they're either at the edges of space or alternately they're smack in the middle of space. So the next thing is, can we make these occupy world space or not? And then if we can make them occupy world space, can we make them a flat slab? So let's continue going up, seeing what we've got. I think you can get beyond the range of these things fairly easily, but that might be fine. I see them over here, so there's that. I could also space them out more. I'm up to something with this. It's just a question of how well it will work. And since Megapause is attempting to be at the location, but I want it to be at the boundaries, boundaries are going to start at vector 3, 0. So we'll do vector 3, 0 minus this, and we'll see how that goes. Don't mind me. I'm tired. Okay, that's supposed to be at the boundaries of the universe, and yet that looks like it's closer than it. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. That might not actually be closer. These might be lined up. Well, there's one thing I can do to find out. I can rerun the game at a much higher base level. It'll probably be fine. I guess we'll find out. There we go. Okay, so what we're expecting to see here is large numbers of asteroids, but we've also got some of these blocks. And if I've done it correctly, the bots are not going to be actually trying to push against any of the blocks, because they are trying to move around inside a space that is defined by world size. So let's go closer to this and see if anybody ends up trying to scrub along the surface of the box. Probably not. Without being stalked by that thing, but we can move out of the way. Oh, no, there he is. I see you. Or indeed, I could go far away. See if that bounced off of the surface of the block, so good, we're good. And yeah, the idea is to make these into walls, but the walls have to be at world-size boundaries, meaning that all of these bots moving around, they might be pushing the asteroids around, they're not going to be pushing this around. You can't anyhow, it's a static object, but if I make them flat and at the edges of everything, they'll kind of be patrolling the world size. And we'll see, just for fun, let's get in trouble with the bot. Shielding myself from the Guardian, so I'm safe from that. Although I'm being dragged around by gravity. And weirdly, these don't get gravity. I can bounce off it, but it doesn't have gravity. So the idea there is to transform this into large objects that are elsewhere in space. So I can go up through here, and this is just a dense asteroid field. But the idea is to maybe have a maze of those walls, and those walls can exist in space in such a way that these bots that are following their path in world space are never actually able to collide. Oh, that one is not seeing the one I seek. You guys, I'll start playing the actual game, how about? Oh, fail. Ooh, I've got very low energy. Let's load up on energy again. There. And I'm going to avoid that thing and try to query these bots as if I was playing the game properly. So let's flee through the asteroid field to this densely packed area where lots is happening, and see if I can fire at any of these. Nope. Level 500, so it's busy. There's a bunch of purplish looking ones. Oh, missed. Did not succeed. I'm just blowing up asteroids in the distance is what I'm doing. Okay, well, let's question some of the red-colored ones. We can catch these guys, right? Scooch to the side, see if I can get a beat on them. They are not responding. And all I'm doing is blowing up more rocks. And I'm almost out of power again. It might or might not want to deal with that in some way. So I am being stalked to see the red glow coming through the asteroid field. It means that the scary thing is coming for me. But this is working okay, I just don't have any more of those blocks. And that's fine. Oh no, I see one over there. So if I wanted to go and find one of the blocks. See one off in the distance. Pretty sure I saw one off in the distance. Maybe I'm misunderstanding somehow. No, we're just getting back to original game. I have no megastructures anymore. Or rather I do, but I don't see them right now. So fair enough. Mendeley, fair point, fair point. I may or may not be able to work out how to make the default count setting be 4.4. I'm not completely sure why it's coming out at 6.6. I can work on that. Let me see what I can do. There should be a way of doing it. I bet I can tinker with it until it's doing that. So I'll see whether I can get that one going. I was going to revisit Soft Clock 3 to see whether there were any additional time signatures I needed to add. Meanwhile, here we are with this. Here we are with world size. Here we are with making additional cubes. We can make much larger cubes. I just don't know if it will help. Here we have block size is world size times 0.01. That is actually quite large. Yep, that collider works. Yeah, so doing this, it's acting kind of weird. It's running fine, but these are taking up a lot of space and they're spaced out in a funny way. But then that would follow because it's actually using... See the funny overlap? It's scaling up to be potentially larger than the maximum size. So that is clearly not quite right. So, So float universe counter. So that's going to go to 256. Let's see what happens if we do this. So in theory, this is making it so that the obelisk new vector 3, and I'm very likely to not actually keep this at its full size, but we're offsetting by world size. We're starting out in the middle of the megastructures, but we're still making them be solid cubes of sizes set by universe counter. So let's see what that did. We may be starting inside one of the cubes. Or maybe not. Look at that. Oh, I see a block. So the trouble with that is if we have this large block, add a distance from it, and I do see other blocks up there, add a distance from it, nothing actually has to exist inside it because it's just a visual representation, but it does have a collider, so as you approach it, objects end up teleporting inside it as you get closer, and I'm looking to not have them do that, But rather to have them, see there's another one over here. I feel I see a block looking thing up, and I see one up there too. Rather than using the full block size, what's happening is it's being scaled by whatever the texture is. This texture is meant to be minimalist squares, so there's just a bunch of moderately different sized, moderately different sized giant cubes. So, we could count by the pixel. And then, I'll move that elsewhere so that I don't remember what to do with it. Good enough. And we'll do, oh, I screwed up. I don't know what it did, but it did something wrong. Let's move that to there. And then let's move this to, actually I have an easier way of doing this. Vector 3, 1 times block size. Turns out that is the thing I wanted to do, so fine. Then we quickly comment this stuff out. And now we should probably have little tiny cubes, although possibly not. I don't have a standalone version of Dark Meter yet. I would like one. Not quite there as far as getting that working yet. There is somebody who would probably be able to help me with it. That could happen. Okay. So now we cannot see anything obscuring our sight other than giant asteroids. Because now we just have a series of cubes occupying space and they're too small to see. So one thing I can also do is dial back to a lower level again. And then I'll scooch over to here and we can have that be world size divided by 16 and see what it makes of that. Yep. So the positioning looks to be roughly correct, I think. So here's the concept, and hopefully these are spaced appropriately. I'm trying to work out whether that is the only one that's nearby. Nope, there's another. So if these are all world size, there's no space for anything. But they're now unit size. If these are all world size, and then like one foot thick, then we have something a little more interesting. Because then we have the ability to like shift them and switch them around and make like a maze out of walls. Now that might possibly not be great, but remains to be seen. We'll find out whether it's great or not. So if we make them be much larger, here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is, now that these take up all this, well, technically half the space. See, they're they're that big, and then there's that much space between them. And it is a very effective megastructure. But what I'm shooting for is the ability to have them be literally sealing off everything, but have their orientation be different each time. Because when they're like this, not leading that enough. When they're like this, they're taking up some of the space that I need. So I can go in a direction to the edge of space. And in fact, having found my way out, now I can see all of that around me. And that's 4,000 blocks. And the blocks are each at world size. So all of the accessible game pieces are inside a cube that is twice the size of that. Those are now basically just forming a outline. And what I'm interested in finding out is whether I can turn this into a maze. But I do have the megastructure thing going. Because if I can make it into a maze of sort of two-dimensional walls, there might be too many of them, but I can do things about that. Then the two-dimensional walls are not actually obscuring any of the game pieces. The bots or the rocks are not actually going to be instantiated on top of the walls, because the walls are the edges of world space, and all world space does is like duplicate. It has instances to every direction, so you can see past world space, but you're just wrapping around inside it. So this wall concept, I think, might be getting me somewhere. So that part's still fine. I could also do double world size, and that would probably work. Oh, McCartney's new song, nice. Oh. I'm happy to hear that he's not just distorting things in a mellow acoustic song, because that's really unnecessary and unhelpful. So I've just deleted a thing that I didn't want to delete. Gonna want to do something like this. Don't need to do the +1 there. And then I'm going to want to do a modulus. Don't mean to do that. Okay, let's try this. I think that's... Do I have this happening elsewhere? Can I just copy the concept? Maybe, maybe not. No, I'll figure it out as we go. Actually, I did want 0. Lovely. So I can have that based like that. Multiplying by 0 will make this be 0. So we can put some logic in there. Unless we can't. Yeah, it looks like we can't, unfortunate. But I can also do that by obelisk. So or so this should be in brackets because we want to move this over to the brackets too. Boop. So yeah, now we're testing to see if it's 0 because it's starting out as 0. And we're redefining it, so that's going to be different. But what we're going to do here is case 0. Actually, no, I do want just plain world size, thank you. Hang on. Okay, got there. So if I duplicate this over and over, I'll have different cases to use. I'll make a point of checking out Mad Villainy. That's not to say that I'm going to do a thing that somebody else has done that exists. But if you're talking about a specific thing and it is findable and doable, then it's not unthinkable that I could at least find out what that is. Firstly, let's see what we can do with this, since we are doing a video game now rather than any form of plugin. So here, this is starting out as 0. So we can do this, and then every other one, or randomly assigned ones, are going to be two-dimensional. I think what just happened is we did not achieve any. So that's a debug. Let's see what happens. So universe counter, mod 1, that should give me something where case statements work. What I could do is begin the process of duplicating this, but then making there be a case 1, and seeing whether that helps at all. Oh, or maybe obelisk 0. Yeah, okay. So that'll make it a cube the size of the universe. Whereas this, and then it figured out that I was doing that, but not very well. But let's see what this gives us. Since I'm not changing these at all, what I should be getting, and it looks like I'm successfully getting it, is infinite spaces. See, they are always pointing in one direction. If I go to the edge of this world, there's a limited size that these are. Also, if I hit an asteroid at the speed, I'm doomed. So we basically just produced walls. And these are legit walls that you can completely bounce off of, like this. Boink. But if we go past them, we see that it is a megastructure. It continues to stretch out in every direction, although there seems to be a missing bit there. That's weird. I do not know why. So there's one wall, but then it's like weirdly inset here. And they're kind of continuing to step. That's weird. See, I'm missing one. It goes there. I could probably make it be smaller than 1. But weird as that is giving the sense of the megastructure. What I don't understand is why we've got these missing gaps. But I do see a regularity there. So they're kind of stepping inwards one each time. Whereas if I fly up to the top of it, well, that's reasonably flat. See, they're just giant slabs. And I believe if I approach this, I'll see it continue to show up. But sort of far in the distance, I've gone beyond where I can reach. Okay, so maybe what I'm seeing here is just that the randomizer is working. It's just got only 2 values. I don't know quite why it's doing this. But we've got sort of the basic gist of things. And boy, does that stretch down a lot. Does it go to the side a lot too? Or maybe I just can't see that far. I bet I just can't see that far, which is not necessarily bad, because that means that there's a larger range of these infinite. The infinite walls will end up getting replaced with slabs pointed in all kinds of funny directions, and a certain number of gaps as well, but these are simply spaced at the spacing of 1 world distance, 1 universe distance. World size is dictating this. And that means that when the bots are flying around trying to do their thing, see how we're between 2 giant walls. All the bots moving around will be between these walls in a small cubicle space. The question is whether I can make it a giant, crazy looking 3D cube maze. And if I do, whether that's going to get in the way of being able to see the neat background image there, or whether it'll be too obtrusive. But yeah, the thing about this is if I'm playing a very high level, bots shouldn't actually be bonking against these walls very much because they're trying to move to places within just this amount of space. So if we fly off in another direction, all that's going to happen is we're going to be cycling through the same 3D space. And now these giant walls are just visual noise. That's all they are. There is one thing that I can play with while I'm busy doing that. I can go back to here and I can look up, also it's 4, so I need to go and thaw out my taco foods. But there was a place here where it let me, maybe it's albedo? No. There is a place here where I was being allowed to have it not respond to fog. If I have it respond to fog, we'll see much less of those, but they'll still be taking up space and having consistency. So filter nearest, repeat, that's actually bad. I'm not sure if I'm doing anything useful with UV2. Maybe we don't want to bother with UV2. Let's not have there be a blend mode. So detail can be off. Now this is a full-size giant rock, but we can also blur it. That might be decent. We shall see. We can also do a linear bitmap. That might help it look nice. The interesting thing, this is the reason I started talking about that, Chad, is a maze, technically, it will seem like it is interfering with the gameplay of trying to find your counterpart, and yet it will not, because your counterpart is always within the cube that you were in. And these are the boundary layers, so no matter what that does, you can navigate around it all you want, and all you're doing is wrapping around the areas where your counterpart is at. The counterpart can never be on the far side of the wall from you, because it's always within the same cube as you. And okay, that's not wretched. It's such a large thing that I can probably afford to do that, because you can never be close enough to see all of it at the same time. And then there was, here we go. Oh wait, I'm not disabling fog at all. Okay, so this is including fog. That's probably fine then. Back to Writer. Oh, also, give me a second. I do need to do my taco making. I'll be right back. Won't be long. Alrighty, I'm back. Man, I'm absolutely ravenous for the tacos today. I think it's spending time with other people in my space, and although I was fine, my adrenaline was cranking the entire time. I was cool about it. I've learned to do that. Back when I was a lot younger, like the autism would get all over me, and then it would be like struggling much harder to not like freak out or act weird or whatever. Now at the age of like 57, I've gotten to where I might still be internally freaking out, but I can step back from that like some kind of Vulcan and be like, oh, fascinating. And then like my body is still going to be burning energy as if it's a super high drama situation, but I can act more normally. So while I'm at this, how about I try a 0.1. And then we're starting obelisk at 0. So I'm guessing that sometimes the case is not right. But here's where things can get more interesting. Two, 3, 4, 5. And that can be leaving it at 0, which will make it not show up. So now we get to go through these and go X and Y. X and Z. Y and Z. Yep. Got a little bitty motorcycle scooting around outside. Not only that, we could do some funny things like having some of them be partial rather than full. But I suppose the first thing I can do is find out whether this will work. And again, this will, let's see. Oh, got to update that. XYZ, XYZ, XY, Z, clearly. And then these can be a variation on those. So we'll delete them. And then we'll start with 11. In theory, this will now be orienting these differently. We'll see whether it worked. Ah, got there. So now we have a giant maze, which is not completely a maze because it kind of, oh, and that is actually very close by. But we now have areas that are delineated by all of these giant walls, which are pointing kind of in all directions. And not overlapping perfectly either. Look at that. Look at that. I would have thought that that would be arranged a little more closely, but clearly I'm missing something. But this is sort of that concept of Let's make it a giant maze. So what do we got here? Can you get through this narrow gap? Nope, those connect. And if we go straight up, oh, we went straight through that without hitting it. Interesting. Can I bounce off of it from this direction, though? Okay. So I made them too thin, so you can go through them if you're not careful. It might be fine, though. I want to see that edge. Okay. That is how thick they are. It is, in fact, not a two-dimensional thing. It's got a thickness, and you can bounce off the edge if you want. So this is not properly a maze. Instead, I've pretty much just got a bunch of these guys in various directions. Let's, first of all, before doing more interesting things with this, let's see what happens if we do, let's see, we're not using block size at all, are we? Well, let's now proceed to use block size for something because we can. We're going to use block size for literally all of this stuff and see what it's like scaling it up or scaling it down or whatever it is we choose to do with it. Because this is oriented in such a way that it places things on world boundaries. And that doesn't create one if everything is just 0. And part of the reason that's doing what it's doing is because our counter stuff is never hitting default because the case statement doesn't go far enough. Redundant section. I guess it just falls through if you don't hit the case. Fair enough. Fair enough. So now let's try this, and we should have made it so that the blocks are now 2 times world size. And we've also got more of them. Alrighty. Can we bounce? Not that time. Can we bounce? That time we can. Okay, so it depends, in other words. But yeah, now we've got the challenge of these are filling up all space, but the trouble is they are somewhat annoying looking. They're blocking out the background. They're kind of weirdly offset, so that's neat. They're blocking out far too much of the background. And there are things I could do about that. One of them is I'll make them all a little bit thicker. And the other one is, let's see what happens when we intentionally make them far more sparse. Because we're using universe counter mod 40 to generate this. So it's not actually random. It's drawing from the world that we are in. So yeah, oh no, Saltancy, don't be sad about that. It's one of the reasons I'm doing live streams, is that people just enjoy the hanging out part. Okay. So now I have made it so that it's much less likely for any of these things to appear, and sure enough, they're kind of not appearing. That's because there's far fewer of them than there were before. There's still walls. They're still on boundaries. They're sort of fading out the draw distance there. But they're not obscuring all the background because they kind of can't. So if the mod is not actually 40, if it's much denser, there will be more of these. But now we also get to make more of these cases. Yeah, and I'm perfectly happy to be doing the game developing. We've got about 40 minutes or so before I get to go and have tacos. I'm so hungry for tacos today. It was a really big day. Hopefully it was a really big day as far as leading me directions where I'll be past some of the intense stress I've been getting. So, 1, 2, 3. No, this would be 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so the first 3 are full-size walls, unless I don't want them to be. Ooh, I'm doing that not quite the way I wanted. Or am I? So what we are looking at here, I could also squinch these all into one line, might or might not be appropriate, is many repetitions of the same design. And block size is like 600. So one of the things that's going to happen is it's always going to be placed on world boundaries. Also, I can dial it back to the existing size. This will continue to scale as long as I make block size scale by integer units. Then it will never be getting in the way of the bots and the asteroids and things. But if I increase block size, if I have it be world size by some integer number, and I'll be specifying it as a float because it's a float, but all it needs to be is a integer scaling of world size, and everything will still be arranged on the world boundaries. And that could be handy. It will mean that I won't have bots trying to push their way through the walls. That's what it will mean. So having said that, we have a modulus up here. And I'm beginning to explore making these be half size. So if there has to be a half size, 0, 1, 2 have the thin one on Z, Y, or X. So 0, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. 0 and 3 are comparable. 1 and 4 are comparable. So if we have this be... Ooh, and we could use the golden ratio, couldn't we? See what that does and how it lines up. mind me fussing with things. 382 is nearest, damn it. So 0 and 1 are comparable, so 0 is x, and 3, same type, but in this case, the one that is skinny is the other one. Case 1, okay, interesting. We could have it be the opposite there, but all that's going to do is force it to be x that time, and then this gets to be opposites here as well. And then we're not doing anything with these, unless we just leave it like this on the assumption that some of them will be full-sized. But I can just as easily lose that. And I can make another full set of these, also randomly arrived at, where they could be 1 to 618. It can be wider ones without being quite perfect squares. Let's see what we made this time. And let's make it be a little less sparse than that so we can actually see what it's doing. Hey! World of weird planks. And also, it appears as if some of them are lined up with my starting position, which is not optimal because my starting position is exactly halfway. But this is kind of cool looking. I wonder whether I can fix that starting position stuff. If it's happening with the one, it's going to happen with them all. What do I mean by starting position? What I mean is megapause is vector 3, 0 minus vector 1 times 8 times block size. And then we add all of this stuff. Well, I could try doing vector 1 times block, well, block size is the full scale, isn't it? Let's see what we get if we do vector 1 times block size. Hang on, that's exactly the same as doing vector 1 times 7 times block size. Let's see what we get when we do that. Or we can do a fraction of that, and it'll probably start doing about the same things. Again, this is a bad sign. I'm trying, since my position on starting, my position is literally the exact middle of the world. What that means is seeing this here is cool looking and all, but what it means is literally all of these are bisecting world space. So that's off. It shouldn't be like that at all. So we'll try that again and see what we get next. We'll go back to 8. And how about our starting position is vector 1 times block size times a half. Wouldn't that be the same as doing a half here? Let's find out. I'm shooting for starting in a starting position, which is exactly in the middle of everything, in such a way that I'm not exactly edge on with anything. Might be getting there. And the idea of some of this is that these should be able to connect with each other to make an even larger space. But I should also be able to make them go far away and have them be a lot smaller. Like, that guy is more than a world size down, but I can approach him. And all that's happening is I'm approaching this. Although I'm bouncing off of it, that's unfortunate. Let's see if that's purely a one-sided thing, or if I can bounce off of it if I approach it slower. Yep. So I should make those a little bit thicker, I think. Oh, I see you. Look at you. It just snuck by. And we can blow up rocks and be chased by this, but we can also hide on the other side of one of these. And if we do that, it can't shoot us. Isn't that interesting? As mad as it wants, but it can't find me. That makes the process of found me. Hiding on the other side now. See, that's the trick here. This is why I wanted to do this, is it makes it possible to do stuff. Although I will note that I just saw that floating through a giant wall, so that's not perfect. But maybe we can live with that. Up. You have to stay on the far side of the wall from the Guardian, and then you can shoot the rocks all you want. Oh, out of juice. So that's neat. That's the thing. So if I double all of these, then I can have them be larger and potentially connect to each other in more interesting ways. So first I will update all of the ones where it's clearly just duplicating it, and all of the 382s go to 618s, and then I'll be looking at a golden ratio rectangle or remainder of a golden ratio rectangle. So we'll want to do that. This gives it a sort of mathematical consistency. And I can follow that up by just scaling everything up insanely. And we're also going to make them all a little bit thicker because there is that problem of not hitting the collider. The collider is too thin. We're not able to bounce off of anything. And once I've finished doing all of these, then I will fix the case statements and go for the larger numbers. I think I will add one final option though. Oh, good heavens, what the hell is that? How about let's... Oh, I see. Okay, that's still what I wanted to do. I just fumbled it. There we go. We're replacing those with 5s. We're making it a little bit thicker. And then I can duplicate these last ones. Boop, boop, boop. And not scale them down at all. So some of these get to be just panes. And not panes in the neck, just squares. But mostly they're not squares. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and onwards. 7, 8, 9, 10, not 22, 11, 12, 13, not 4, but 14. And then, again, these are all being read from... Oh, why do we have multiple cases? Oh, hello. Ah. There we go. So we're scaling up to 14, but we can call it 16 so that there are a couple of blanks, because we're not actually placing a pane if it's just blanks. And universe counter is going to be a color. So what I'm now wondering is whether taco filter, yeah, right. That sounds like a plan. Well, I'll be hitting my taco filter soon enough, within less of... Ooh, look at that. Wow, cool, okay. Interesting. Part of this went completely wrong. Look at what I'm looking at now. I am exactly halfway aligned on one of these. And they're all being aligned vertically, possibly because the color that I'm working with is blue wallpaper, so maybe they're all the same value. That said, there is something that I can do that will smooth things out a bit. We'll step pixel by pixel rather than just unit by unit, and then we'll include all the pixels. Or we'll include all the colors and we'll simply add them together. I'll need to put some parentheses in there, but done, done. And then I have to do a +1 and a +2. Man, I'm so hungry for my tacos. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like, hey, I burned a bunch of energy today, jamming my guitar. I practiced my drums too. So now it's that modulus 16, and we've got the narrow ones, and we've got the wider ones, and then we've got the purely squared ones. What's that look like? Ah, okay. I think we are still dead on, angle on with some of them. Like I see the edge of that one. That means we are not aligned properly. But there's a thing that can be done about that, I think. Ooh, hang on. No, that's the size. Don't want that. That one starts out at 0 because if we make extra space in there, then it leaves that wall out. And leaving the walls out has its uses because that means it's less visually cluttered, while still having a good option for being able to do some of these things. So far so good, I guess. Oh, also, we were instantiating more of these when we were counting by... Yeah, we were instantiating more of these when we were counting by 1. It's designed to be counted by 3. So it's amazing it was working as well as it was, considering that that was the case. But now, vector 0 minus vector 1 times... Okay, so 8.5 it does not like. Times block size, perhaps also a concern. So maybe it's the fact that it was 8.5, but block size is what, 2 now? Is block size 2 or is... No, it's just world size. Let's see what we get this time. And again, each time it's going to be a different texture. I feel like that is closer than I would like it to be. How close is that really? Yeah, see, I don't want to start this close to a wall. It means that the walls are bisecting my world space. I need to have it so that it's never exactly halfway down. So let's see what we can do to ameliorate that. Okay, in theory, that is now offsetting things by exactly the location that we start at. And then block size kicks in order to offset things further. Let's see where that placed anything. Looks a little bit like I'm looking at things sideways on. I should be looking at all of these things not perfectly sideways on. I'm really trying to make them line up on world boundaries. Excuse me. If we did ignore fog. If we disable fog, let's save that again. We can also disable ambient light just for funsies. And specular is disabled, so that shouldn't actually be illuminating things too much. I'm looking to see if I can make these be sort of black obelisks with just barely a sense of texture. If you approach them, that might look nicer than what I've got. Yeah, so the darkness can be broken up by these voids. But then if you approach them, which takes some doing, and then if I make them all a lot larger, or a lot farther away, they're less spammy. I think I'm still running into a draw distance issue. And they can certainly be darker because they're not blending in very well with the distance of actual rocks. Points for illuminating relative to the Rory monster, though. See, some of those, and then there's instances, and if I flee, there's Mr. Dude coming for me, but if I hide underneath this, in theory, he can't get me, even if I shoot some more rocks. So that has its uses. It makes it more possible to actually have the gameplay be about shooting the rocks, which is fun in its own right. Because Mr. Dude has to be able to see you in order to hit you. I'm wondering a little bit whether maybe the reload mechanic is not actually helping it this time. All very well gently bumping the rocks to reload, but I'm not sure if that's actually working out. Maybe you should just be able to spam shots and go from there. So maybe let's make this... Oh! There's Mr. Dude. I phased through the thing, and now I can't phase back. Now we should be able to clear up asteroids this way. So the question becomes, one, do I even want any that are actually squares? Or would I like them all to be narrower angles? And two, is the positioning working okay? Well, let's fool with it a little more. Firstly, I can remove these, and then there won't be any of the perfectly square ones. And I think that works. I'm basically happy with that. If we cut this back, there's still lots of them. But then if block size is a lot bigger, maybe they will be far enough away that they're not being bumped into all the time. What's it look like now? Okay. So here we go. We can approach. The giant thing. Oh, there's another one. It begins to appear but is not subject to fog. So the problem there is if I make it immune to fog, it just changes the color that it is. It kind of needs to be subject to fog so that I can have it have the same basic color. Size, fine. Albedo, texture. Well, we can darken the albedo a little bit. They can be darker walls. That's probably fine. I feel like that ought to do just fine. And then UV, we'll scale it up a little bit more. Or indeed more. What would be nice is to have that match the texture of the rocks, but that might take some doing. Also, we could have that be linear rather than linear map. We're not disabling shadows. And let's save that. I got about 10 minutes before tacos. I'm looking forward to my tacos so much today. It's also, the days are getting warmer, so that's nice. Wasn't completely freezing myself. Let's see, times 8. That might make the thickness of these a little thicker. Granted, block size can be like 800, so maybe what we want to do here is simply go fully over to the size is 1, just to try to deal with that ability to sort of teleport through it without meaning to. It'll make the edges look weird, but the edges always looked weird anyway. And if I want, I could make them go even skinnier and skinnier. But we might be doing just fine as things stand. And again, the whole, extra F. Pretty much getting there. 9 minutes and counting. That'll be nice. So let's see. Now we are no longer running into all the same concerns. Although now everything is so far away that I can... Oh, I see a triangular shape off in the distance. Let's see if I can approach you. That's the fog color. Closer to it. You can see the texture. However, you can also see how close the rocks are, and that texture is way bigger than the actual rock texture is. So it feels like it would be nice if they were kind of matching. Let's push this towards the object. Push down instead. Okay. You are going to be bouncing off, and you have bounced off. Okay, so I'm thinking the density of that texture could be like 30 to 60 times as big. And there are so few of those visible that I needn't worry about spacing it out quite that much. So we're going to pull it back to 4 times world size. Technically I could do 3 and that would probably work. See whether it feels good. And then lastly, okay, so obelisk counts to 11, so I'll dial this back and mod it to 12. Meaning there will be slightly more of them. And the thing I'm changing lives here. So maybe that'll be a comparable brightness or density, the closeness of it. It's basically a giant slab, and it looks very featureless, and it's not really, it's very dark too. But then when you approach it, you see that it's of the same material. Oh, and we have all different sorts too. These are all sort of horizontally arranged. So that's amusing. Oh, that looks kind of sideways on though. We don't want the sideways on ones. Might be just fine though. I'm not sure if I like these vertical walls. All the vertical walls are the same. On the other hand, the counterpart we're seeking is Blue Heaven. Well, first of all, let's see how this tracks. I think I went too small. Let's see, at the point that you bounce, you just did bounce. Yeah, that is too small. Also, my scaling screws it up a little bit, but that's probably fine. It's close, but no cigar. How about this smaller one? I can basically shove you very rapidly. Okay. Alright, I think I just knocked that away. Something fierce. Let's peek on the other side of it and see if there are any rocks over there. Here's one. So does this look like it is remotely the same scale? And the answer is no. The wall is both weirdly squished. I do wonder whether I can scale the texture on it to compensate. But that texture is smaller than the texture on the rock. And it is also smoother, whereas the texture on the rock is pointillized. So let's fool with that a little bit. My last 3 minutes to stream. So let's see. Yeah, the soft clock thing, I'm thinking that volume control would be the track you have it on. Just a thought. It's not meant to blend with anything. I want it to be a relatively reasonable volume control, but it is supposed to live on a track, so you can just modulate the volume of that track. Let's skip that up to 16. I wonder whether I can scale the texture. I wonder if I am scaling the texture. Hang on. Okay, so cube scale. Yeah. We're producing rocks. Are we scaling the texture on the rock? Don't think we are. Okay, so back to this again. I had made it too small, so we'll try 128. I wonder if I can, again, scale that. Okay, UV coordinates multiplied by UV in the vertex function. The Z component is used when triplanar is enabled, but it's not used anywhere else. So this is X and Y. Z gets ignored. And I don't know whether I get to scale it asymmetrically. It does repeat, so if I could scale it asymmetrically, I could make it so that it compensates. But I don't know quite how to access that. UV1 scale. So, I wonder whether... See, here's the thing. If we're doing it on a flat surface, because the randomness of the counterpart has led to... I'm running this in the wrong place. No matter, it's almost taco time anyhow. I can quickly quit out of there and run it in Rider where it'll be a little smoother. Here we are in Writer. I don't think I have a very good way of rescaling them. Okay, blast towards this one down here. Do we have any rocks real close to this? Also, I can make fog be darker, I feel. Fog being darker would kind of work. And then here we are. And here is a nearby rock. That's not too bad. Darkness seems about right. So one thing about doing this is you start making more rocks as you go. And I ran out of shots. I'm not sure if I'm down for this limited resources business. Isn't it more fun to just zip around like mad and not lose anything? Surely. Yeah, that can't be right. Let's quickly run in here and remove all of those limitations. Oh, excuse me. I'm yawning. I'm definitely down for getting some sleep tonight. So physics process, here is our motion. We're looking for where we are applying the engine or the motion and the places where we're checking for that score parameter or something else. So it looks more than a little bit like it's actually still able to operate. That seems weird. And we're able to fire zaps. We're limiting them to this. Okay. So game damage, that should actually be score. Thing is, I'm still trying to track whether or not, like, what is it tracking? We're updating, okay, so we're updating label left. So game damage is in fact the one that I'm looking to track. So we simply do not do that anymore. We could also blank that because we won't be updating it. And the rocket doesn't affect it any longer. And then if mouse button pressed, here's where we're checking to see whether we ran out of bullets. And who wants to run out of bullets, I ask you? Come on. And so off we go. Here now we have a bunch of flatter ones. Now that dude's gonna be chasing me. I'd better go and fly to where one of these large objects are. Hello, Mr. Giant 2x4, 4x8, or whatever. Let's hide behind you. Ha! Okay, now we're safe and we can shoot all we want. We're going to try to eradicate all the rocks, and we will never run out of zaps at this stage. I don't know why I'm at 99. What did I possibly do that's cutting down? So now we've made Guardian too easily disabled. And also we can try to play the actual game. You? No. It can't find what I'm seeking. And yeah, it is in fact taco time, I know. So, tell you what, let's do it like this. Back to, not cube, cube is fine. Cube does not actually need to be altered. Back to altering block size. It can be less titanically huge. And back to this switch statement, which we can increase so that they don't get created as often. We're doing this switch, we're instantiating cube, and then we've got this other thing where we're either LK, so here's the thing. All right, what's the remove me? I know I've got it in some of these things. So here we're creating all manner of stuff. If we have a zap, we're going to tell the object to delete itself at a certain point. So I need to copy that over for where cube exists. So let's see. Okay, we're creating new ones. Here's free RID, and after we do that, Q free. Boom, that's it. There we go. So either we add it to the scene, or we tell it to free itself and move on. Bada boom. Got there. And here we are. The things are a little bit closer in now, but that's probably fine. They're not covering everything up. Oh, I remember now. I was going to... Oh, I went right through it. Oops. I went right through it. I was going to mess with the brightness of the fog. And that should change the look of things a little bit. That's going to be in world environment, not ambient light. And it's a depth fog. And light color, it's apparently this color. So we'll keep it like that, and we'll just sort of darken it. Go a little more purple like that. And we'll run with that and see what that looks like now. And then I'll go and have tacos, I promise. And for this last go, as long as we're dealing with things and making them be interesting, let's play a super high level. So there will be lots of stuff everywhere. All right, see you later, Chad. Visions of tacos coming very soon. Okay. Cool. Cool. We've got like nebula-looking areas. We've got a lot of rocks everywhere. We don't have it set up to give you scores or anything, but that's probably the next thing. And distance is altering how some of this stuff works, but the objects may be in trouble now. Let's find out. Let's try to fly away from that thing and hide behind one of these walls. They are just uncommon enough. It really gives you the sense of this is a big world. Because we keep trying to approach the wall, but man, it's actually quite far away. There's constantly new asteroids in the way. But we want to find the wall because the wall is what will protect us from the angry little thing. We just got farther away from it though, so we can... Ah! Aha! So we're blowing up some stuff. Okay, these guys are not going to be the ones I'm looking for. I might have seen him. Ah! Aha! Let's see if we can fly over to you. Ha! That's the one. But it's a high level, so it's all skittish and moving around. Oh, got there. Alrighty. Meanwhile, that Guardian has been chasing me, but it's out of luck because I have passed on to the next level. We're going to do level 501, which goes kind of like this. Oh, no, I got a beach ball. I'm asking too much. So now we got to find blue wallpaper. And again, we have these distant large walls and objects, but there are not too many of them, and they're not too much in the way. And we have lots and lots of asteroids. I'm definitely going to make that percent be a score, and you get score for shooting the asteroids. Because what's not to like about shooting all the asteroids? It just gets busy and messy. It makes everything much more difficult. And then if moving to the next level is only a matter of either shooting all the asteroids or finding the counterpart, you want to shoot in order to seek the counterpart. And it just gives you more problems because now there's a million asteroids everywhere. And I'm on level 500, so frames are suffering. Oh, geez. Okay, that's a mess. Well, these guys are having a little party over here. Oh, I'm just missing him. Oh, not only that, we got some trouble. Time to run away. Oh, I'm taking damage. Oh no. Well, at least I'm not running out of the ability to flee, because now we're not using up points this way. But this is why I might rename the game Never Tell Me the Odds, because now we have to flee through a busy asteroid field. Which is doing me damage. I'm still no nearer hitting blue wallpaper. Although I'm clearing away some of the rocks. That said, now there's 400 of them. Remember, they're being instantiated in every possible direction, so it looks even more cluttered than it is. How about you? Ah, it's pointing in a direction. It says go that way. At the cost of making even more rocks. Oh, can I... This would be interesting. So we're not using stuff up, but we can take damage from hitting things, but then if I bump it lightly, does it refresh me again? Oh, hell yeah. Okay, we have damage, but we also have damage repair. That's neat. I like that. It means if there's life, there's hope. Meanwhile, is this the one which I seek? Oop, trouble coming. I see the glow, which means the Guardian is chasing me. Now I have to flee again. Maybe I can hide behind one of the walls that I don't actually see anymore. Oh, yes I do. I see a wall over here. Oh! I went too hard. Okay. Okay. 15 minutes... Oh, God. 15 minutes past tacos, but we have gameplay where I'm actually making sense of how this thing works, doing things like healing up or whatever, and trying to struggle to do the purpose of the game. So starting over means you're trying to find one particular one, which is this one. I need to make it so that it does not load with the there's going to be controls here for like managing how sensitive the mouse is and stuff. But for now, we're going to call that a day and move onwards to getting to have dinner. So on that note, I'm glad I was able to swing by briefly. And I know I wasn't spending a lot of time here, but I'll see whether I can catch up. We'll figure out some ways of doing this. It's possible I'll have to rearrange my schedule a little bit. We'll see how all that develops. But yeah, video game. And with that, I'm starving. I'm looking forward to my tacos. I'll be releasing some kind of plugin this weekend. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it will be, but it also looks like some of the stressy things that have been bugging me seem to be clearing. So I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, I might be so relieved of the stressy things clearing that I'll like go and make music or something, and that'll be amusing. We shall see. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.